All right. I'm hoping all of you can see uh, integrating behavioral finance in retirement plan designs. All right. And you can see that this is a presentation I've done before. And I'm going to actually, in this class, take you through many of the papers on which this presentation has been based on. And a lot of these presentations are available at the Wharton School. They have a pension research center or pension research council. It's in their actuarial division, right? And their actuarial sciences. That's a PhD in insurance area is actuarial sciences. There's a pension research council in Wharton School of Business, and you can become members. It's free, and you'll have access to all their papers. Very, very good papers for all the serious people in this business. So that's something I'll invite you to do is go and become a member and look at all the material you have out there from some of the best minds in this country, right? All right. So what's the as an abstract of what's coming up? One of the first things is that we are going to sort of challenge some of the most central assumptions of decision making in finance and investment. And the main issue out there is rational investor behavior. That's one, rational investor behaviors maximizing utilities. And in Wednesday's presentation, you will see information on that issue. What's a rational investor? What's an efficient market? Comes from the investment side, the investment post. But we are going to sort of challenge that and say, hey, what if investors are not rational? What if even money managers who are CFAs and PhDs, what if they are not rational? And there's proof for both. There's proof money managers may not behave rationally, even though they're rational, because they maximize their own benefit or utility. And investors definitely are not rational. It's systemic that they're irrational. That's also been shown. And you'll see that in the previous presentation, how widespread irrationality is. So the challenge is, if you have a theory like modern portfolio theory based on rational investors, efficient markets, how good is that model if all the inputs are irrational? And that's a big problem. So that's something we want to look at. We want to look at this traditional approach to retirement and life cycle hypothesis of investments, right? So if you think about it, for most people, 95% of people, the longest financial plan they'll ever make is a retirement plan. If you start at 30 or 35 in your 401k, you got a 60-year plan, 65-year. Only very rich people who have big estates and are looking 2-3 generations down may have longer financial plans. But in terms of most of everyday people, the longest plan they'll ever make is a retirement plan, can span 60, 65 years. And we take the risk, the life cycle hypothesis of investments. When you're young, you want to invest in risk investments, small cap stocks, emerging markets, junk bonds. And as you grow older, you move into large cap stocks and then balanced funds, income funds, and eventually into bonds, right? Treasury bonds, munis, agency bonds. As low risk, you also diversify well, and you start looking for lower returns as you go older. And that's life cycle, right? Because you're getting more risk averse as you get older. So you get out of risky investments into less risky, like bonds and income balance funds, etc. And questioning the analytic approaches, like if everything is based on reason and it isn't working, can we modify them to adapt to the emotional inputs in the investment decisions, or do we have to develop this whole brand new set of theories based on behavioral finance? And that's a big issue coming up. And I've written an article in the Journal of Financial Services Professionals, and if you're interested, I'll send it to you, or you can find the journals. November issue 2009, Journal of Financial Services Professionals, which is about the new economy. And the new economy, like everything that we know from the past, is really not working, like unemployment rates, treasury bond interest rates. They're way off their historical benchmarks. And the idea and understanding that all these benchmarks might be changing. So is this a good time for us to develop new theory, or should we adapt the existing rational models with emotional input approaches? All right? All right. So in this case, what I'm going to do is look at the same life cycle. And of course, there are three stages, right? You are you're gathering assets or accumulating assets, you're growing them, then you sort of start, saving, conserving them, and then you distribute from them. So three stages of life. When you grow your fund, then you conserve it to make sure that you're going into well in retirement, and finally, you are decumulating your retirement life savings. Saver characteristics, you'll see also there are three kinds of savers. And these are kinds of people that you will have clients, right? People that are very successful planners, people we call secure doers. And I'm going to show you what these characteristics are. And then there are the avoiders, of course, who don't want to do anything. And so we look at the behavioral issues, both which stage of planning are you in and which segment of a client are you in, and what kind of issues are going to affect you or work for you. And in turn, what kind of a plan design should you have for your clients? You know, they might be taking advice from you from a 401b plan or a 403b plan, 401k, 403b, or it could be a IRA, or it could be SEPs and KIOGs and stuff like that. You got to know what are the issues that are going to be hurting them if you want to give competent advice. So you need to understand their behavioral pitfalls, essentially. All right, so let's look at the three stages. Stage one, there is no tomorrow. You're a 25-year-old beginning career. You just got your first job. You're going to save for retirement 40 years from now? Hey, come on. You got $100, or it's going to go for a date or a six-pack or a good meal or a good book or, an iPod towards an iPod or iTouch, something like that. 40 years away is too far away, right? I won't even borrow right now to boost my current consumption. This savers. Stage two, age 40 onwards. You start realizing you need to save. Your time's sort of, closing up. You've got 25 years or so left, and you may not have saved anything yet. In fact, you might be in debt. So this is the time you want to start changing into being a saver from a spender. You want to purchase financial assets that will grow and accumulate, and hedging against your retirement expenses, right? And you are hedging also to make sure that fairly good living standard during your retirement life. You don't want to lose, standard of living or quality of life, either one of them. Whichever is money dependent, you don't want to lose on that. And stage three is, who's afraid of dying poor? Well, everyone is, right? You don't want to outlive your assets and funds, right? We are all afraid of dying poor. We don't want to outlive our retirement funds and have to go out looking for, dole or help from our family, and all the sort of horror stories. And there are horror stories right now. For any of you who think retirement is not a horror story, you really want to make sure that someone, has right minds on. Go to a EBRI, Employee Benefits Research Institute. Listen to any of the stuff that you hear on retirement, all the experts. It's big, big trouble, and we need to all work together to help all the people who are in big, big trouble get out of this trouble. Real problem, all right? You're decumulating assets. Assets can also lose money from market movements, right? It's not just you taking out money, but it's also it's open to the vagaries of market movement. You're taking out money, and then 2008 hits your retirement fund, and it wasn't protected. You didn't have a life cycle fund where all your money was in bonds and stocks and small caps, because you thought, hey, you are 66, you got a lot of time. And then what do? Do you get out and put all your money in a CD, or you buy and hold and say, hey, that's what the theory says, buy and hold. This market too will pass. When the new market comes around and my stocks go up, I will not have sold them for a loss and locked in the loss, and then I can't make it up again. Those are the issues. All right, here's some demographics on retirees. And this is a study of 401k and 403b plans, participants, non-participants, fairly robust study. Main thing to realize is that if you are educated, male, female are the same. If you have good income, if you are educated, if you are married, if you have college degrees, if you are in the middle to the end of your work stage, and you're a white-collar professional, you're much more likely to be participants, right? That's just basic common sense. That if I'm educated, I know I have to save for retirement, 401k and 403b. I shouldn't opt out and say no, I want the money. I need the money. I can't save, even though the company's paying me to save by matching or matching my contribution, and I'm willing to walk away from that free money on the table. Yeah, all these things you saw, occupation, education, marriage status, those are pretty commonsensical. So non-participants are people, of course, who need help, right? Because they don't have those demographic backgrounds. All right, so those are the 3 stages. And here are the 5 classifications of types of clients, and later on we'll put them into 3. So first start with successful planners. 1% of us are successful planners. Up and coming planners, 26%. Secure doers, 20%. Between these 3, you have two groups, 2 segments: successful planners, secure doers. And then live for today avoiders and stressed avoiders. That's another 1/3 of the total segment. That's another segment. 1 out of 3 people are either live for today avoiders or stressed avoiders. And 1 of 3 are successful planners, 1 of 3 are secure doers, with that up and coming planners being usurped between those 2 groups. All right. Now, what kind of people are these? Excuse me, hold on. Successful and up and coming planners. That's group 1. Secure doers, group 2 or column 2. And stressed and live for today avoiders. Now, what you want to do out here, this is how you judge your clients. Hey, this guy is very good, or this lady is really good. She's got a strong vision. She's got clear goals and aspirations. Yeah, she's successful, or he's successful. There could be some uncertainty. Everyone has uncertainty. If they are the same kind of people but less goal-oriented, they really don't know how to save for retirement. They want you to tell them. Then they're secure doers. They want to do all the saving and all that. They just need guidance, whereas the successful guys, they've gone and educated themselves. They know all the things, they know all the jargon, they know all the instruments. They need your help to make sure they're getting everything right. And avoiders, you can see slightly worried about the future. Hey, Social Security will take care of me, kind of thing. Right? And they're poor people, generally poorer people, income and wealth-wise too. Education, income, wealth. All those things. Same in interest and financial planning. And what you want to do is use these as a checklist for your clients when you're doing your retirement planning. Which one of these do they fall into, right? Because then you'll have an idea of what kind of general help you might be able to give them before you turn into the specific help they need from you, which is the totally idiosyncratic them. That's just them and no one else. But beyond that, there are some commonalities with other people. How can you apply those and make everything much smoother for everyone, your client, yourself, and successful plans and implementation? Preparation for retirement, savings behavior, deferral of gratification, as you'll see. Disciplined savers are willing to say, I'm willing to give up consumption today for a better future, right? That's a disciplined saver. We know it's very difficult to be a disciplined saver. But if you come across one who has a good vision of why they're saving, you got a successful client in your hands. And you want to sort of help them too. And they derive satisfaction from saving. If not, they have thought about it directly, but that's something you can say is that, yeah, you've done really good. You really like this because you're so good at it. You've done well. So encouraging that. These are identifying statements, just like you have, the characteristics from in the last two slides. These are the kinds of things they will say. So keep your ears open, keep your ears open, keep your eyes open. Someone says, I'm optimistic about my financial future, and they have a reason to. I enjoy managing my retirement. I enjoy it. It's not a grudge or a drag on my everyday life. I have more important things to do than to take care of retirement. Yeah, I'm 45 years old or 55 years old. Yeah, my 401k is doing fine. I don't know when I looked at it last. I feel stressed whenever I think of money. I'm well disciplined, pay off my credit cards on time. I have very low debt, but I have very good debt and credit ratings. I've taken good care of my debt, and I'm unencumbered and so on, or I'm well covered. I know how much to save. My leisure time is too important to spend time on this kind of stuff. I worry about having enough money. So I'm going to stop and give you a chance to ask questions or give me some feedback. Are you following? Is there a question that you want to ask? Could you please raise a hand or type something and just let me know? Have I lost anyone or am I everyone? I see Greg and Brian they're either calling in or they're looking at this. I hope they're not just looking at the slides. Absolutely, this will be in archive. This will be the whole session will be archived. All right, Blake, go ahead. Hold on.
Yeah, I just and seeing those three and working in a retail financial firm, it's just so clear that people fall into those three categories. But the first two just seem very similar to me. I'm curious, maybe if there's a little bit more delineation between the first two.
Look at hold on. Yeah, look at the characteristics. And if you start comparing the characteristics when you see it in the archive, then you will be able to start making some more distinction. But oftentimes, there is a gray area in between. So it behooves you to study them a bit more before classifying, because like anything else, you run the risk of suggesting the wrong kind of plan or service to them or products to them because you put them in one over the other and they didn't. So that's why it's always important that you be very clear before you apply stuff like that. If you don't know it, then keep that client in both and say, all right, I don't know where they are. I'm going to find out as I work with them, but they should be in the middle somewhere, and I'm going to work from that region and try and see which way they really are going. How disciplined are they? Do they pay off their credit cards like pretty much 99 out of 100 months or 9 out of 10 months? Right? There's a difference between that. How much of their total income is going towards service obligation? 50% or 35%? 35% is number one. 50% is probably number two. So those are fine lines, but that's something as you practice, you will develop these skills. Don't assume that it's a model that you can adapt like the rational models of MPT, because that's what a rational model does. You can just apply it blindly and say everyone's under risk aversion. No, you can see it's not risk aversion, it's loss aversion, and it's a client by client. And what we're trying to do is trying to help generalize so we can reduce some of the bigger grunt work which afflicts, say, all successful doers or all avoiders and so on. And we can generalize a bit. All right? All right. Moving on. Prepared are people for saving. And the stats you'll see are actually better than what they are right now. So sometimes some people say, hey, these are old. I said, yeah, these are old, but I sort of look at the newer ones. These are some of the best ones we see right now. All right. So we're going to look at 4 different sources that people use for funding retirement, right? Financial, your personal portfolio, your house as a reverse mortgage or a lease and buyback, or sale and lease back, or you can sell it, or you can use it as a, old age insurance plan. If you run out of money at 85, then you do the reverse mortgage, for example. That's your housing value. pension from 401k, 403b, whatever your pension plan is, and finally Social Security, of course. Excuse Excuse me. All right. So here are some stats. Projected retirement savings. Hold on. All right. So if you look at it, in this case, how much wealth do people have? How much wealth do people have from each of the different sources of wealth, and how much of their expected retirement cost will it cover? So you start first with the poorest people, let's say who have $40,000 or less. And see, most of these people will depend 107% on Social Security, even though Social Security, if they're lucky, will cover 25-30% of their costs. Right? As you know that. You know all that stuff well. If you go to number 5, so for people who have 800,000 plus in total wealth for retirement, you'll see Social Security is only 20%. Main thing are your 401k and your personal portfolio. Your personal portfolio. Net financial wealth and pension wealth. Housing is not important. And you can see housing is important for the middle people. But for the rich off, not rich but well off, and the rich, of course, above them, housing is not important. It's mainly personal investments and your 401k. Please stop me if you have a question anytime. Just raise a hand. Please raise a hand. All right. This is for wealth. Same for wealth. This is the replacement ratio, and you have two different groups. If you look at that thing with the red on the top, there's two columns which show if you retire at age 62 and you're saving different savings rates for different household wealth. All right. So a household has about 44,000 in total wealth, not income. And then let's say they're saving 38% of their total income. If they retire at age 62, they will need to get about 50% of what they're spending today on their expenses, on their lifestyle expenses. All right? Again, let me explain it. If I have $44,000, that's all I have in banks and 401k and everything for my retirement. And I'm saving about 40% of my income for retirement, wherever I can, 401k and personal plans, etc. Then I will have to have a replacement rate of 50% of my expenses today. I'll have to have that when I retire at age 62, whatever I'm spending at that time, at age 62. If I retire at age 65, I can be saving only 27%, and my replacement rate would be 59% in this case. I would have to replace 59, but from now, whenever now is, till age 65, I will be saving to only 27%. If I have got 800,000 in wealth, I hardly need to save anymore. And my replacement rate, I'll cover most of my expenses. At 62, I'll cover 90%. At 65, I'll cover nearly 100%. On the other end, if I have 44,000, I'll only cover 50%. If I save 40% from today till retirement at 62, I'll only be covering 50% of all my needs, retirement needs. All right? So imagine how important it is. First of all, if your client can delay retirement, it's a good idea, right? If they're planning at 62 and you see, hey, you guys have been spending beyond your means, your 401k is in shambles, there's no way you should be retiring at 62. And these are the kinds of reasons. So you got to say, look, if you cannot, or, you retire, but you keep working, you got to earn money. You keep earning money. You got to keep earning money. But you can retire from your current job, but get something else. You got to keep earning money. You can't retire and do nothing anymore. And that's an issue if you're poorly prepared. And you can see, as a investment advisor, that's a tough thing to say to a client, right? It's like a doctor. You go to a doctor, they give you like a bad injection or a bitter medicine, and you say, "Hey, can't you give me anything better?" They say, "No, this is the only thing that I can give you," and that's going to get you right. And you say, "No, I don't want this kind of stuff. I'm going to go and find a doctor who will give me something nice. I saw something in a magazine that might work for me, and it's easy." And it doesn't work. The doctor, the good is the one who won't sort of, worry about you leaving them because they've diagnosed you correctly, and they think anyway, and they're giving you the medicine for that, not what your diagnosis is. And that's important. This third one is earnings, income, household income, and prescribed saving rates and actual savings. All right. If you wanted to retire at 62 and you made $30,000, you need to save about 17%. You were actually on an average saving only about 3%. If you have $80,000, if you're earning, and you want to retire at age 65, you should be saving 14%. You're only saving 5%. So you can see across the board, there's a total underperformance in retirement savings. All right? So please note that, and that's something for you to understand, that in general, people have been really poor in saving for retirement. And of course, they've taken huge hits, even when they've done well, because their 401k was not in the right assets. They were 60 years old, and it was all in small caps. Imagine what happened to those people. 60 years old, 62 years old. They probably have to work till 72 now. It's all gone, those dreams, those retirement dreams, and it's very tough. I once wrote up an article on why CFP certificates would be very, very competent besides the ethical part of it. You need to be absolutely top-notch competent, and I wrote this article, and there was a lot of heat generated from that article. Then a student of mine, who also is a teacher at, I think, Texas Tech, she said, Dr. Basu, you're absolutely right. And, if I were to manage someone else's life savings, I would have to ask myself, how competent do I need to become? If someone hands over all their life savings to you, they're age 60, how important is that task that they've given you? How sacred is it that you take care of them? Because it's easy to blow it up. We know that. Yeah, it's easy to blow it up. So I'm going to make you 11% return just on large caps. You don't even have to invest in small caps. How bad is that? Someone else's life savings, totally gone. It's in the hands of a financial advisor. How powerful is that to abuse? Very easy to abuse. So, you are here in this program because you want to hear about these things, to know the pitfalls. This is not a CFP course in a certification program where they don't even teach this stuff. And that's what we want you to be. We want you to be a CFP certificate in a totally new sort of level. It's a paradigm shift in this industry, and that's what we would like you to profess and practice when you get out. All right, life cycle hypothesis. What's the theory? And you can see, to be a good retirement saver, what do you have to do? You have to somewhat accurately calculate uncertain future cash flows from your income, your assets, your tax rates, your changing familial structure, which divorce, kids, previous marriages, kids, health status, how long you're going to live, your risk tolerance, your return requirements, and more, many, many more. And if you look at it, each of these are uncertain, right? What's going to happen to your family, or your income, or your wealth, or your taxes? You know nothing about the future. But you have to calculate what's the present value of my future value of my present savings, right? Or how much do I need to accumulate till I retire based on all these ideas? That's what an individual has to do. So using above ability to calculate uncertain future outcomes, You have to accurately calculate the time value of money implications, retirement, and current saving needs and their timings. So now let me ask you this. How many people who are lay people or who are professionals who haven't been educated except in a Series 7, how many people do you think, besides the CFPs and CFAs and CPAs, how many people do you think can do that? People, employers, employees. How many common people can do this? No? No one. It's not. No one can do this life cycle stuff. Ordinary people. Because it's so difficult. So let me start looking at what kind of stuff goes on here in terms of getting to menu designs or plan designs, like retirement plan design. Some issues you want to keep in mind. There's a concept of framing. As you read your chapters and the material and you get into discussions, this is a big issue in retirement planning. You have two kinds of pictures you can show. If you look at retirement planning advertisements, whether it's Fidelity or it's PIMCO or whoever, there can be two kinds of messages. One's a negative message, one's a positive message. A negative message is, hey, if you don't save, you're going to be in the poorhouse. You're going to be in the sick house. Can you picture what it's going to be like when you're 80 and you don't have enough money? That's a negative image. Does that help people save today? Or a positive image. You are 70 years old. You have three wonderful grandkids. You visit them often. You take trips on your camper. You have a boat. Those are positive images. To do that, when you see such images, will you save more? Which one do you think will lead to more savings? Let me ask, and just use the check or the cross box. If you think, let's look at positive. How many of you think positive will work better than negative? Hit the check boxes. Check box. If you think positive pictures are better than negative pictures in promoting savings, retirement savings, which could be 20, 30, 40 years away. Right. And rest of you, for negative, can you show me your checks for negative now? Please take off the positive checks first, and I want to see only the negative checks. All right, that's your sort of expectation. And there's some of you who say, I don't know. I'm finding out. All right, so keep that in mind. I don't know either. There's literature showing both sides. And we have to sort of back out from a client perspective what might work for one client but not another. Yeah, fear versus, happiness or whatever. Preference reversal. You will find out that most people don't have a preference of, rational expectations. They don't think that if I take this guy, I'll get more return. They don't think like you do as a professional. They don't have that preference schedule which says if I take on more risk, I'll get more return. They don't have any hard wiring of that. They don't understand it. It's a learned thing. All right. So preferences are not hardwired. In this experiment, you see, and I'll come to smart plans and stuff later on. Retirement savers are content, even happier with a median portfolio except their own portfolio. So retirement participants are shown two portfolios, their own or the median portfolio of all employees. And they say, which one do you want? 8 out of 10 will choose the one with median over their own if it's not a median one. Because they don't know. They just chose it because someone told them how to choose it. And the median one looks better to them. So preferences are not hardwired. Here's another example, and it's a study. These are all studies. You can, there's sources given for these studies too. All right, so there were 3 companies, and participants in each of the companies were asked to rate their company stock in relation to the S&P 500, right? Individual stock, non-diversified, owning one stock of their company versus the S&P 500. Ask these 2 questions. Is your company stock more risky, same risk, or less risky than the S&P 500. All right? 3 companies. So look out here. 42% think that their company's stock's risk is the same as the S&P. 42%. Less risky is 22%. 1 out of 5 think their single company stock is less risky than the 500 averaged S&P index. What do you think of that? How do you react to that? All right, the actual versus the expected. The standard deviations of the 3 companies, 40%, 36, 31% was the actual. The S&P 500 during this time, volatility was only 18%. Yeah, scary. Look at the returns of the company stocks over this time period, 5-year period ending 2003. S&P lost an average of 1.1% over the last 5 years. And that's how these company stocks worked. Imagine how scary this is. Imagine how scary this is. Most people don't know. Advisors don't know this stuff. We need to learn this. We need to learn it enough where we are not dangerous for our clients. If we see problems, you listen to my previous archive. I talk about this stuff. We need to make sure that if they have some problem, psychological problem, that they have a counselor. We don't try and modify that behavior. We just need to know enough to say, this person might have behavioral issues. And you might suggest a counselor. We're trying to modify it. We're not counselors. We're not psychologists. We understand enough to know that this is a dangerous area. But if they need good advisors, and a future advisor may have a counselor as a financial counselor, like a psychologist who understands money issues as a partner or as a associate in your practice. And if you listen to that last one, I talk about that in the end of how the people are doing some of this stuff today's state-of-the-art advisors. They have counselors, and they have sort of like sessions like psychologists do, group sessions, and people recount how they lost their retirement funds and what kind of a doghouse they're in because they didn't do the right things. Group sessions, group therapy sessions. You sign off and stuff. Anyway, you can listen to that. All right, so we want to look at what are the implications for the 3 groups and the 3 segments of 3 groups of people and the 3 stages. And you'll see group 2, choice over group 2 needs a lot of help. Group 3 also need a lot of help. Inertia, you'll see inertia. These are all behavioral issues. Inertia, procrastination, boundary rationality. Their rationality is partially rational. They're not fully rational. Or, even close to being floated. They're partially or less rational. They follow the path of least resistance. Inertia, take care of it day after tomorrow. I procrastinate when I should sign up for my 401k account. And so on. And these are very, very powerful. All right. So this is auto-enrollment, right? This is the 2006, I think, the 2006 rule, the Pension Act made auto-enrollment. And you see in companies which started auto-enrollment, people who had 24 to 35 months tenure and hired after 1299. So this is the 98, sorry, not 96. The 96 or the 98 rule. Once auto-enrollment became available, jump in auto-enrollment. If you were saving more before and then it became auto-enrollment, actually there's a danger that people who were good, successful planners and secure doers before, where there was no auto-enrollment, you had to go and sign up for your 401k. The people who were really good, they were a lot, 6% and more. Once it became auto-enrollment, those same people oftentimes would just say, hey, I'll take the default 2%. They wouldn't do it. Inertia and procrastination might say, okay, I've signed up. It's the I know I'm automatically signed up. I don't have to do anything. It's an opt-in, opt-out, auto enrollment. And whatever the default is, he's happy with it or she's happy with it. They didn't find out. Say, hey, I'm enrolled. It took care of my need. So sometimes successful planners may save less. So you got to know that if they're auto enrolled, that they're doing their maximum, not the default. But auto enrollment, the enrollment goes up huge when it's opt out over opt in. You see more coming up. Preferences are not hardwired. It's a problem with MPT, risk aversion and stuff like that. I know there are some people in this class who are big on asset allocation. I am too. I'm a market economist, remember that. But I want to acquire a lot of, rounded knowledge so I don't apply it blindly, like a CFA who might be window dressing to get funds in and they're fooling people behaviorally. This is an experiment. There were three sort of portfolios in a 401k plan. One was a stock bond portfolio, and 54% of this portfolio was in stocks, 46 was in bonds. Then there was a stock balance portfolio, 73% of the total stocks, 27% in bonds, and a bond balance portfolio, 35% was in stock, 65% was in bond. And people were asked, how would you invest? And the common approach was 50-50. Put 50 in one, 50 in another. It's not about how much stock you want or how much bond. It's not about diversification. What's the easiest to do? 50-50. So you have target date strategies and glide paths in 401k plan management, both the plan sponsors and the third-party advisors. These glide paths, these are, it helps people. They don't have to make these decisions. So you can see making employees who know nothing inert in the decision. Don't give them self-direction. Don't let them be self-directive of their 401k plans. That's the worst thing you can do for them. You make them inert so they don't have to do anything. If they got a pain on the side of their stomach, they go to a doctor. They don't try to do their own appendicitis. All right? Let the doctors figure it out. You are the doctors. You figure it out. Let them not make any decisions. That's a better system than saying, hey, everyone should self-direct their 401ks. Would be disaster if you allowed common people to do it. Inertia and procrastination, huge issues out here. Inertia and procrastination. All right? So default system, so that I told you about. The less the employee knows, the better. And we'll get to target date stuff. You have to manage longevity risk. When you retire, does it roll over automatically to a fixed annuity? Or are you going to take it as a lump sum and buy the $25,000 Cadillac that you always wanted to buy out of your $200,000 401k sum payment? A lot of people take lump sum. They want to buy that Cadillac or that boat. They've been dreaming about it all their lives. Suddenly they have $200,000 in their hands. They don't look at 30 years to live on that at 4.5% secure or 5% secure treasuries. What do they do? And what if you could add it? Are people who have a fixed annuity in their retirement, like a defined benefit plan, are they happier than other people? If you have a fixed annuity, it's just covering most of your expected expenses. Look at the last point. Of 120 billion in annuity sales, most of them were variable annuities from pension distributions. And as you know, variable annuities are not fixed annuities. In fact, they're the worst kinds of the annuities. The other side of fixed annuities, right? Fixed annuities are okay as long as they're not too risky, like an AIG fixed annuity. 2 years ago you did have a AAA rating. Today they are in the dumps. So even when you have a fixed annuity, the underwriter, what kind of a company is it? Can it go down? You saw how close AIG came to going down. So how good is AIG's guarantee on a fixed annuity? Big issue, right? Who's going to do that as an advisor? You're going to do that. You're going to find out on behalf of your client. Are you willing to sign off? And I'll send you some material on that, how to do that. You're going to see it coming through in an article that I did with PIMCO on retirement behavior and I'll be sending it to you. It's going to be published this week, and I'll send it to you for you to read. All right, procrastination. People planning to do something and actually doing it. People were asked to, people who were not participating in a 401k plan. How many of you plan to enroll in the 401k plan? 100% say yes. Only 14% do, I think, in the next 2 years. Only 14% actually go through. Increase your savings contribution rate. 28 to 8. Change fund selection. Change fund allocation. Between intent and implement. A big difference. That's inertia, that's procrastination, both. Both. And this is the effect of auto-enrollment, where you take out inertia and procrastination. Take it out. Make them inert, the employees. They don't have to worry about it. There's no self-directing. Yeah, exactly. So look at it. 37% were enrolled before auto-enrollment. After it became automatic enrollment, 86% were enrolled in their 401k plan because it's too much of a problem to sign out, opt out. Before it was opt-in. So you have to sign papers, fill in forms, sign papers. Inertia and procrastination make sure you don't want to do it. Now, opt-out means you have to fill in forms and sign papers to get out. Same forces, inertia and procrastination, now working for you. That's the idea. Now working for you, they don't want to fill in the forms. They don't want to do the signs and turn in the papers. That's what happens. Now this should trigger off ideas for you that if you can make plans which are really good for clients, where you can see inertia and procrastination getting in the way, try to make it help them make it an opt-out plan, where the less they have to do, the better they are. Both ways. They're doing it, and it actually helps them, just like in this one. All right. Here's a look at what inertia and procrastination, the downside of inertia and procrastination. 75%, in the 2000s, defined benefits could pay out in lump sum. For 2000, they couldn't do it. It had to be fixed annuities, life or life with survivor and so on. Once it became 75% of the people who had defined benefit plans took lump sum distributions. Imagine this. How much emotion should a professor and should an advisor have on this? Who the heck right minds made this possible? What kind of a nut makes these kinds of policies? What kind of nuts? Because people want to sell these retirees goods with their lump sum monies? Because they know they'll do it. People like to get the feel of a lot of money in it. So they're trading off a fixed annuity, a sure stream of future income for the lump sum and blowing their futures. And there are some policymakers who let this happen, who made it happen. What kind of people are running this kind of place? 33% of retirees know that attaining age 65 implies a significant chance of outliving your life expectancy. And this is going to keep increasing. Most of the better clients who take care of themselves, good, healthy living, healthy food, exercise, they have good incomes and education, they're going to live the longer lives. More than 95. And as we go older, they're going to live even more. The younger advisor today, you have 100+ year clients in retirement. Smart plan. Here's a way of using an inertia. It comes out of Richard Thaler and Shlomo Benartzi's work. Thaler's in Chicago, Benartzi's in UCLA. And what a smart plan is, it's an opt-out plan, just like the auto-enrollment. What they basically sign up is this. When you sign up for your retirement, you also sign up that in the future, whenever you get a salary hike, not a cost of living increase, a salary because of a bonus or incentive or a promotion, Whenever you get a promotion or a bonus or an incentive, you sign off saying, I do not want to lose any lifestyle element. So let's say you get, $25,000 more. If you get $25,000 more through a promotion, how much of that needs to go towards maintaining your current lifestyle? Maybe 10,000, 15,000. The rest of it will go into your savings plan. Automatic contribution increase of auto contribution. So you can see impact of commitment devices and inertia. And this is how savings grew for people who opted into the smart plan. Saving more for tomorrow, I think. That's what it's called, saving more for tomorrow or something. That's what a smart plan is. It's using inertia to work for the client, against the client. Same with procrastination, using it. This is a totally different area from investments and finance and small caps, large caps. But tell me this, I'm going to break for a moment to ask you, how real is this stuff? Give me a check or a thumbs up if you see in your businesses all the time, what you've seen so far. Can I see us? Yeah. I'd like to see this from your clients. Okay. I hope there are no people who say, hey, none of my clients are like this. I would like to know if you had no clients like this. Yeah, it is. You can see as good as modern portfolio theory and market efficiency, no less. And that's why it's such a big thing. And we're talking about all this, what's going to happen in the future, given all this stuff coming out. So again, that's also covered in that other one, the investment. So as I'm stressing, it's because there's information you need to get and bring into the discussions. All right, here's another example. This is an experiment with the Department of Defense. 65,000 officers and enlisted personnel, they were in a reduced staffing, early retirement program. And they were offered a retirement plan either as an annuity or a lump sum. You can read it. If it was an annuity, they would get a rate of return over the life of the annuity somewhere around 18, 19%. And at that time, the risk-free rate for Treasury bond was 7%. But they were promised about an 18 to 17.5 to 20% annuitization rate. Imagine, rate of return on the annuitization. So economists thought, well, the officers would pretty much all go for it, and at least half the enlistees would go for it. So 52% of the officers and 92% of the enlisted personnel took the lump sum. In $92, they walked away collectively from $1.7 billion in present value. Walked away in present value, $1.7 billion. All right. So what's going on? What's buying inertia and stuff? And you can see we are going into the mind, right? Into the psychology. And psychology means understanding our mind, which is not just psychology, but there are neural issues, right? Neurosciences. We need to understand these neurosciences, not just the psychology. Understand what we can learn from them, right? So this idea called hyperbolic discounting, and I'm going to come to that in a moment. And it's connected between saving today or consuming today. Saving today for the future or not saving today for the present. Yeah, having a good time today. So unlike, say if you're going to lose weight or you're going to quit smoking, your benefit, if you start losing weight, or if you quit smoking, your benefits are immediate, are they not? You feel better from losing the weight or smoking. People look at you with a different view. You feel good. Everyone around you feels better. Your blood pressure goes down, and so on. Immediate. Hey, but if you start saving more today, you're retiring in 25 years. Do you see the benefit today? No, you don't. You don't. You can't see it today. You have to only imagine it, what it will be like 25 years from now. And given the uncertainty, how difficult is it for people? Everyone, not just ordinary people, for you and I. So, example, if someone said, all right, you'll get, if you wait 100 days, you'll get one apple. If you wait 101 days, you'll get two apples. And if alternately, they're told, you'll get an apple today, or if you wait one day, you'll get two apples tomorrow. In the first one, most people will wait 101 days. In the second one, most people will go for it. They'll have an apple today, say, hey, I want to have the apple right now. I can do without the second apple tomorrow. Consumption imagery, the feeling of eating an apple right now, is more powerful than trying to think what it'll be like having one more, the effect of one more tomorrow. It's not two apples, but one more, marginal apple. How does that feel? Maybe not so good. So I'm going to go for that one today. But if it's 101 days, I'll wait the one extra day. This is called hyperbolic discounting. Most people do this, and so let me explain to you. It's a technical thing. So this is very simply the green line you see, $1 becoming $5.70. That's simply the future value of a present dollar. Present value, future value stuff. Very basic at whatever the discount rate is. Hyperbolic discounters, most people who are saving for a future event which is far away, they don't think it's going to be that good. If I save $1 today, it feels, 30 years from now, I'll get the same benefit as $3.3. No matter what your advisor says, it's worth 5.75. It doesn't have the same satisfaction to me, the same benefit to me as $5.75. It feels more like $3.32. Much like an apple today is better than the two apples tomorrow. That's called hyperbolic discounting, the technical term. So your present value factors are much lower, which means you need to save more even than the traditional accounting. Imagine if you think they need to save 6% and they're doing this kind of internal discounting, you probably need to save 8 or 9%. But they're not telling you. Mentally, they're doing this accounting. In the book, you'll see sections on mental accounting and all this kind of stuff. That's what they're talking about. This is mental accounting. And so how do you know they're not mentally accounting a different way than you? So when you're explaining them rarely about the future value, how this dollar will grow to 5.74, they are listening to that, they're hearing 3.32. They're saying, I can't save that kind of stuff. That's a problem. So why does this happen? Why is current consumption so prized over future consumption? And this is a paper. This is week 4 individual paper discussion. Week 3 covers this whole thing. This whole presentation you see, Olivia Mitchell's paper, that's week 3. Week 4 is this paper that you're seeing right now on the slide. It's Elka Weber, I think. And she gets into the neural science issue. And essentially, she talks about different kinds of mental makeups or our, neural minds. And she says we have two different mental systems. One is the cerebral, the analytical system, which is, conceptual processing, symbolic. This analytical mind is about 2 million years old. Since we started thinking, then we started thinking analytically in our minds. It's about 2 million years old in our evolution. The other mind, which is known as, one is cerebral, the other one is known as the old limbic system of the mind. The old limbic system of the mind is known as the mammalian brain and the reptilian brain. The mammalian brain and the reptilian brain, which is also part of our minds, that's the old limbic system. That's, developed over hundreds of millions of years. I don't know how many, but quite a lot. So it's an old system. It's very well grounded. And it's the more powerful of the two. So if you have a situation when the old limbic system says one thing and the cerebral says another, the limbic will always win in your mind, the limbic decision. And what does the old limbic system do? it reacts to uncertainty. All right? It reacts to uncertainty. Two kinds of uncertainty. Dread risk. Suppose you got a bearing on you as you're crossing the road. That's a dread. You have an earthquake. That's a dread. That's a disaster, catastrophe. You're going to react immediately. And that's from your old limbic system. You're not going to try and find that table under which to go to if someone doesn't drive you there. You'll just react. If it's a bad enough earthquake, you'll say, oh, I need to find the table or my matches before I go underneath to light the candle that I have stored there. You're going to react. And there's another kind, generalized fear of the unknown. What's going to happen day after tomorrow? Can I lose my job? Kind of thing. So you can see these are all near term. The limbic system is all near term, immediate threats to your life. If you have a threat coming up in 25 years, it says, hey, that's not a problem. That's not a problem. 25 years, it's not immediate. Even though cerebral is saying, look at the fear image of the poorhouse. And so when it says to the cerebral, the wins. So consuming today is better than consuming 20 years from today or 2 days from today. Apple today is better than an apple 2 days from today. Because, I'm going into the future, I know nothing about it except what I have right now. So if I'm going into the future with what I have right now, do I want a happier now or a sadder now into the future? I want to be happy today. And how do I be happy? How am I happy? Sorry. How am I happy? How do I be happy? I do be happy by consuming more today and saving less today. So here are some stuff that people have done. But you have to make sure that it's legal. Huh? Don't try and do this without legalizing it from your lawyers. You can experience with your client what it's like to live on the next month, live on 2/3 of your income or half your income. How's it going to be if it's immediate? What will you do? Which ones will you cut off? Because that's what your life is from now on. Or have group therapy stuff. That's okay. Get the counselors. But, because, it's not scary to not save. It's not scary. Someone said fear. Yeah, but it's not scary to the limbic system. To the analytic system, it's scary. Absolutely right. But not to the limbic system. And that's how the mind works. So paper 4 is about these issues. All right, the neural system. Moving on to themes, causes, and designs. Education and communication. If you want to help people through education, find people they listen to. They have an informal group leader, someone they go and hang out with and watch football. Every football game or basketball game, they go to this employee's house because he or she is a cool person and they all eat pizza and have a great time. Those are the kinds of people you want to use. People around them who are their influencers. They are much better than you trying to tell them. But if you get them as allies and they've done well, they're saving, and your clients don't know about it because it's personal, get people like that. Because fear can lead to depression and greed can lead to all sorts of problems as well. All right, so let's keep looking at plan designs, right? Expectations of retirement lifestyle and what actually is it? How adequate are the savings? Lump versus annuitization. Change in lifestyle. Do retirees' lifestyle change when they retire from what they thought it would be? So here are some statistics on all these issues, all right? So this is your week 5 paper. It's between fixed annuities of your pension. So when you retire, you have a defined benefit of sorts. You got a fixed annuity, right? That's just like a DB plan. And you are assured 60% of your expense, of your last 5 years' income or something like that. So you're looking at household income, whether they have a fixed annuity or not, and the relationship with all that Which depression symptoms do you see amongst the same group of people? Right? Number of depression symptoms is the third group of columns on the right. So if you have no pension, zero pension annuity, and you make 56% or more, 50,000 or more, then percent with zero depression symptoms, the more income you have, the more likely you won't have the depression symptoms. So if you have a high annuity and you have high income, then your the probability that you'll have depression symptoms are going to keep going down more and more. So there's a distinct relationship between a retirement which is well planned for and your mental health, which is the third, remember, mental and physical health, which is the third theme of this class. All right? So in this case, retirement satisfaction, number of depression symptoms. If you are 100% reliant on the Social Security, retirement satisfaction you can see, and you can see number of depression symptoms going up as reliance goes up. By pension, if you have your pension annuity pensionized or pension annuitized, you can see 4+ symptoms will fall off. 0 symptoms are really high. The more safe your pension is, more certain it is, 60%, 50%, 80%. If you know going in that that's how much is covered, at least from this source of worry, you will not have mental problem. You can have mental problem from other reasons, many other reasons, but you can also have mental problems because of financial reasons. If you take care of it, at least you know that you've prevented that kind of a mental problem which arises from poor financial problems, financial preparedness for retirement, and you're getting older. How many of the people who are 60, around 60 years of age at 2008, got equity and who took a big bath, what's their mental condition today? Can you tell me? Poor. I know it's poor, but from your work in the field, can you tell me? You see it, right? Those people are not happy. Yeah, lost, depressed. Look at this. They, as a financial advisor, it should wrench your heart. These people really need help. So if they could have had fixed annuities, just imagine what that can do for them. And you have to be a disciplinarian saying, hey, you sign up with me. You've got to, you can get second, third opinions. You should get expert in. Don't go to the next registered rep down the road and ask them, or the RIA, right, or the insurance agent. Don't ask them. Or ask them as much as you want, but you should also ask experts in their fields before you say, no, I don't want your plan, right? Because you're trying to take care of them. And these are the kinds of things you tell them. Is what happens if people don't understand these kinds of things. All right, anticipated and actual changes in retirement, demographics. So look at this. The huge issue is health. Huge issue. Health considerations. For retirement, in retirement distributions, everywhere, because health is downward all the way. Health is going downwards. So so this shows you what people thought retirement would be like and what actually happened. People just before retirement and when they retire after that. What were their expectations going in? What happened when they found out? And you can find out that, the less prepared you are, it actually becomes worse. Realize change among the retired, you actually spend more. You end up spending more in retirement. You don't get a replacement rate of less than 100%, 80%. It actually increases to 110% because you need to spend more in retirement because of healthcare and stuff. And you see the opposite. You start getting into higher wealth, higher income, things get better. Education, stock ownership. So when you are in excellent health and you expect an 18% change, the realized change is only half that because of your health. It pulls you up. The opposite is true of poor health. It increases your problems in retirement. There's also gender issues and consumption issues. One of the things you want to strongly do is, all right, you can retire, but you really need to get into home-based production. All right? Don't retire and read a book and go fishing all the time. You need to produce income or save opportunity cost. All right? So these are the chores that people pay for. You start contributing, and you can see between males and females, there are differences. But as they retire, they do more of it. But the more of it you do, the easier your retirement gets in every way. Your mind gets sharper the more you work with your head. Do Sudokus when you're not doing anything. Mind gets sharper. And you're saving a whole bunch of money and making money. Go and fix someone else's, your friend's house too, if you can do it. Make some money. Stay active. Reduce your costs of retirement. That's called home production. Substitutes, you can see, independence of home production. Substitutes, what can you do besides, other males and females, different ages, 65 to 69 and before, amount of time they were spending before and after. And finally, the last slide, it shows change in hours per week associated with retirement on providing home production of substitutes, complements, work for pay, and so on. So you can see there are negative work for pay, but the dollar savings of increasing hours in substitutes and complements pays off in those dollar values. So this is a good thing. These are the kinds of good doctor stuff that most people don't know. Imagine I know you registered reps, so I'm not berating you. You are here because you don't want to just stay a registered rep. But how many registered reps do you know would know all this stuff? You know, because that's why you're here. How many would? All right. So thank you very much.